What do you think? Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Thanks for tuning in. This is quite a special video for me because it marks the 5-year anniversary of this channel, Retro Gadget Man. Yes, can you believe it's been 5 years since I started this, all the way back in 2020, back in those dark days of COVID, dare I say it. So I thought I'd make a video about it because it's quite a big event really. I'm still going on the channel, still making videos. I think the average life for a YouTuber is around 7 years. And I can certainly feel why as well, because I am starting to get a little bit tired myself. But don't worry, I'm not going to give up yet. I've got certainly a lot more videos to make, and I've got a lot of technology to look at. So yeah, I thought I'd make a video about it. We'll look back at the origins of the channel, how it all began, what the studio used to look like before it was this. I can tell you it looked nothing like this, because I'm actually in the basement. It's a very old house, just over 100 years old, and it's got a very low ceiling, which some of you probably noticed. So yeah, we'll have a look at that. And we'll have a look at how the channel's progressed and how it's changed over the years, when I became monetised. And I'll let you know how much I make out of it, and I can tell you it's not a lot. And we'll finish it off by looking at some of my favourite devices, portable video recorders. I've got a few here to look at, not everything that I own. And I've got one here that I've just repaired recently, so we'll talk about that. So for that and more, stay tuned, and I'll see you right after this. So what actually got me into doing YouTube then? Well, it started probably a year or so before, actually. I started getting back into my old hobbies. I've always been into vintage electronics, gadgets and gizmos, ever since I was a teenager back in the late 80s, early 90s. Used to go to car boot sales, buying up all sorts of old stuff, old computers. My first ever computer was a ZX81. I even had an enterprise computer, a BBC Micro, amongst others, Sinclair's, Commodore 64s, all sorts. But yeah, I was also into that kind of stuff, and also into video gear as well. Had my first video camera, I was around about 14, 15, around about 1989, 1990. Then as time went on, as I got older, I got back into it again. And then I fell out of the hobby, as you do, and got rid of things, regretted it, because I had a Amiga 2000 back around about 2001, I think it was, and I got rid of it. But then around about probably 2019, maybe 2018, I started getting interest again. I came across the 8-bit guy on YouTube, amongst some other YouTubers, and it kind of piqued my interest again. Some of his videos are really interesting, and it got me interested in the Commodore range computers. And I really started missing my old Amigas, my Amiga 600 that I had back in the day, back in 1994 I think it was, and I bought that new. And I had an Amiga 2000 as well, that I got in the early 2000s, second hand, which I'd got rid of. So I bought it back off of eBay, and that kind of sparked interest, which led me on to buying other computers as well, such as a BBC Micro, amongst others. And then my brother said to me, you ought to do a YouTube channel. I thought, God, can I do this, you know? Can't imagine filming myself talking to a camera. And then, of course, COVID hit back in 2020. And then I thought to myself, you know, I've got a lot of time on my hands, because obviously we're all on furlough at the time. Well, I was for a little bit, because I worked for a hardware store here in England, and we ended up opening up before everybody else back in those days. But for the time I had off, I think it was a couple of months, I started getting my ideas together for things. I've got this basement here, which I'll show you some pictures later on in the video, what it used to look like. And I thought, well, this is a space I'm not really using at the moment. I could probably turn part of it into a studio. So I did. I started doing it all out. I think it cost me around about 800 quid at the time to do it. And then I got into filming my first video. And yeah, my first video was pretty cringe. I did a rehearsal for myself, talking to a camera like I am now. And I was just so embarrassed. I was really unsure of myself, and didn't know what I was doing or saying. I still don't know now sometimes, because most of my videos are unscripted. But yeah, I was really conscious of myself, and I'm a bit of an introvert. I have anxiety, so that probably doesn't help. I'm not very good at probably talking in public spaces amongst other people, like standing up at the front of people. But I must say, doing this has really helped me, actually. It's helped me grow as a person. So I'm kind of glad I did start it. But yeah, that first video was very cringe. In fact, the first video I ever did was actually my Amiga 2000, some gameplay, did that first. But the very first video was my Commodore VIC-20 that I bought. I'll probably put some footage up on the screen here as I'm doing this. But yeah, the studio was quite sparse back then. It was just over there actually on that side that I filmed it. But once I got into it and got over that fear of talking into a camera, I really got into it. And I thought, well, I'm really enjoying this. And I guess it just went on from there. So let's have a look at some pictures, shall we, what the studio used to look like before. Okay, so let's have a look at what the basement down here looked like before it became the studio that we all know today. As I mentioned before, this house is just over 100 years old, and this is a small basement, measured about 3.5 metres by 3.5 metres square, and has quite a low ceiling. Originally in this basement there was a centre wall separating the room into two areas. One side was for storing the coal. That was removed before I bought the house, and someone fitted a RSJ here. And I can tell you now, the amount of times I've hit my head on this thing, you certainly know about it. I do end up boxing this in with wood, but even then it still hurts when you hit your head on it. So that front area there was my kind of workshop area, which I wanted to keep. And this is the back corner. And this is the right back corner, and the front wall there leads out onto the street. So behind this is just earth. Apart from about a foot above along the length there. Eventually I have a window fitted here. But all this front here, I cladded this out years ago to try and make it a little bit nicer down here to cover up that damp wall. This is all going to have to be removed to allow the wall to breathe correctly, because as it is, it can't. Now they had some weird kind of fibrous boarding covering the joists above me, which I had to remove. That was a job and a half in itself, because the fresh water pipe coming into the house was going up the wall there and across the ceiling, along with these radiator pipes which I put in years ago, and a gas feed pipe. I need to move this water feed pipe along with those radiator pipes to make this room more practical and give me head clearance. And then reattach all that pipe work onto the joist above. And all this was obviously to give me that little bit of head space, as it were, so I could actually stand up down here in between the joists above. Once I'd removed all those ceiling panels and relocated that fresh water pipe, removed the radiator and relocated the radiator to the other side of the room and replumbed it in, and then remove all the shiplap panelling I'd already done in the past, I could then see the walls again. I could start thinking about how I was going to go about this, to stud the wall out and make it look a little bit better down here, and hopefully keep it a bit warmer so the brick wall behind can still breathe. Because I've learnt in recent years that walls like this that are facing the earth on the other side need to be able to breathe. So what I really need to do is build a stud wall in front of it. So that's what I did, and I did it so it was just sat on the floor on top of some slate to leave a little gap across the bottom there to let air pass up behind. I also covered the left corner as well, because that goes onto my neighbouring house and that wall is quite damp. So there's a nice gap behind this, and also made some hatches here to get to the gas meter along with the water mains. And of course, not forgetting airflow, you certainly need that in a basement, so I fitted this humidistat. It allows the fresh air to breeze in, and when it's activated it takes the air out. I also fitted a pump that just sits on the floor, just in case I ever get a flood, because I do get a little bit of a damp patch in the corner here. And saying that, just a couple of years ago, I had water on the floor. Originally I did have carpet tiles down, but I had to remove them all because it got soaking wet. Water started seeping in through where the electric cable comes in off the street, just slightly underground, and this was leaking onto the floor. So I had to backfill it with some expanding foam, and for now that's worked. And once all that hard work was out of the way, it was plain sailing after that really. Just a load of electrical wires to tidy up, boxing stuff in, boxing the RSJ in, covering the back wall there with shiplap, and then painting it all and assembling all the units. I used kitchen units and kitchen worktops because they're perfect for this. They've got plastic feet, or about 6 inches tall, so they're off the ground as well, so no damp can travel up into the cabinets. But yes, I think it looked quite good in the end when it was done, and obviously then I started filling it up with all my retro goodies, and it's obviously carried on from there. So up to this point, like I mentioned before, all I spent was just over £800, I think it was at the time, to convert this damp basement into my studio as it was then. And I did all the work myself. But as the years went on, I started needing more space down here, and I got rid of my front workbench area there and moved that to outside. And obviously then that got filled up as well. At the time of building this, I tried to get someone to install me a window at the front, but no one wanted to do it. But since then I have had one installed, and I must say it makes a hell of a difference. The next thing I want to talk about, one of the things I noticed in the videos I used to watch back in the early days, was how many donations people were getting. Some channels were getting like really loads and loads of donations of computers and retro tech. And I was like, wow, you know, they're doing really well out of this. I myself was just making videos about things I already owned. And I thought to myself, as time goes on, maybe I'll get donations. But do you know what? Over the 5 years I've been doing this channel, I've never had one single donation for a piece of equipment. I did at one point have somebody offer me a video recorder to help me fix another one, but nothing transpired from that. All the things that I've ever made videos about on here are things that I bought myself. I started buying stuff off of eBay, and then of course that led to a lot of unboxing videos, and that escalated quite quick into buying quite a lot, because during the early days of lockdown when we had COVID, obviously you couldn't go out and buy anything. There was no car boot sales or anything else in the charity shops open. So I was buying a lot of stuff off of eBay, and that's where all the unboxing videos came from. And as time went on, my intention was to make videos about some of those things. And of course I have so far as well. But there's still a lot of things that I bought off of eBay over the last few years, or 5 years, that I've yet to make videos about. So stay tuned for those. I've still got quite a lot of stuff planned, but just getting around to it. But yeah, in a way though, I guess it's kind of a bit of a godsend that I didn't get a lot of donations, because I probably would have felt awkward about turning things down. Because I've since seen on some channels where they've had to stop doing accepting donations because it's just getting too overwhelming. And of course it's the storage space as well. Because I've only got this down here, and I've got a shed at the bottom of the garden, and I've also got some loft space. And I say now it's all pretty much full. I'm already starting to go through things now, and as I make videos about them, I'm parting with them to help buy parts for other things that need repairing. So something else as well with this old technology that I've been collecting over the last 5 years is that it's keeping it going. Obviously, when you're buying this stuff, this vintage tech, we are for us that do that, we are custodians, aren't we? We're obviously looking after this stuff and having to keep it working. And I can say it's quite disheartening at times. For any of you who watch me regularly, you may remember the series I did on that Commodore PET back there, the 2001 that got crushed. Unfortunately, it stopped working again. A couple of months back, I had some problems with the EEPROMs not sitting correctly in the original sockets that Commodore put in there, because the original sockets are pretty poor. I hadn't got around to replacing them yet, and it kept on acting up. So I swapped them all out, and it worked for a bit, and now I've got another problem where I just get nothing on the screen. I know it's not the tube, but I turn it on and off, and I get I get nothing on the screen actually, just the dot at the end when I turn the screen off, and the tape recorder keeps running. So that's another problem I've got to sort out. Same with the rest of this stuff as well. My Commodore Amiga back there, my 500 Plus, that I use for my screen in the background, which I usually have running. That puts up the Guru meditation error now and again, black screen, the red writing, press left mouse button to continue. I don't know why that is. But when I originally got that, it did have the leakage of the Vata battery, which they all suffer with, which I cleaned up, but maybe some corrosion I missed has done a bit more damage. So that's something else I'm going to have to open up. I've also got another Amiga 2000 over there. I did a restoration on this one here, but I've got another one over there that needs some work doing to it as well, because that's got some problems as well. And I think the battery might still be in that one as well. But I've got a lot of computers from the 90s, or 80s and 90s, that have still got batteries in that need removing because they're starting to leak out onto the boards. And of course, for anybody else that collects this stuff, you know how time consuming it is, and how costly as well, buying all the parts. And sometimes you can do repairs to these things, turn them back on again a couple of months later, and they've got a new problem. So yeah, it can be quite disheartening. But obviously, I do try and make a lot of videos where I document things for future generations, so that anybody else that's buying this stuff in the future can look back and have something to look at, some kind of reference. Because one day all this stuff will be gone, won't it? In 100 years' time, probably none of this stuff will exist, because obviously it's not going to last forever. A lot of this stuff's already sort of 30, 40 years old, and it just wasn't designed to last this long. And they are just consumer products at the end of the day. They were just meant to sort of last 5 or 10 years, because as we all know, technology moves on very quickly. But people like me, in my 50s now, I'm 50, I've just turned 50 this year, we're looking back for nostalgia, aren't we? Looking back to relive our childhood memories from back in the day, and it's all about nostalgia, because a lot of this stuff eventually won't exist anymore. When I'm dead and gone, I've already spoken to my kids about it. Obviously, they're going to have to part with some of this stuff, if not all of it, and hopefully they won't just chuck it in landfill or recycling, because obviously it's all recycling now. But yeah, going forward, obviously they're going to have to part with it and get it sold basically to somebody else, and hopefully that future person will keep it going. Because my kids, as it is, probably my youngest son's into some of it, but my other children aren't into this stuff at all. It really is just a dad thing and my youngest son. So yeah, it's hard work actually, obviously keeping it all working. So, but as time goes on, I should probably get rid of things myself, so they don't have to deal with the burden of getting rid of all of these things. But yeah, as it is at the moment, I'm just kind of keeping hold of things. I'm not been buying much more. I've just been kind of concentrating on keeping things running and working on stuff that I haven't repaired yet, because I've got quite a backlog actually of stuff that needs fixing. But yeah, going forward, I'm just going to keep on trying to fix stuff, and I'll make videos about that because I know some of you are interested in it, and it's a learning curve as well. I've met an awful lot of interesting people and very helpful people over the last 5 years that have helped me with questions and answers about things and getting things working. And it's been really nice, actually. As I mentioned before, I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not very good at talking to people. So yeah, that's probably does come across sometimes, actually. And I suffer with anxiety, like I mentioned before. And I can see sometimes I look back at my old videos that I'm not quite myself. But yeah. So yeah, going forward, I'm just going to be making videos basically more about repairing things and looking back at some of the old technologies. I'm not going to be buying much more new stuff now. Over the last year or so, I've probably started to lose a little bit of interest in the channel. I'm not as enthusiastic as I was back in those early days. Well, since I started 5 years ago, I've got just over 3,500 subscribers, and I must say I'm a little bit disappointed in that. I thought it'd be a lot more than that by now. But I guess what I'm doing is quite a niche market, and there are a lot of other people out there doing this. So for every one of us that's doing this kind of thing, I guess we're taking viewership away from each other. But then are we? Because all of us YouTubers have our own personalities, and we all have our own way of doing things. Some of us are really big and bubbly. Some of us are quite laid back and reserved, like myself. Some other channels that started out at the same time as me have really grown, have grown wild actually, and gone into the hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I myself only have 3,500 subscribers. I guess I'm just not very entertaining, or I just don't have that personality. But I've always said to myself and my children, just be yourself. Don't ever try and put anything on. Don't lie about things, and try and big yourself up into being something you're not. Because obviously trying to do that takes up a lot of energy, and of course it's remembering everything as well. Just be yourself basically, because that's the best thing you can do going forward. Be the best version of yourself. Most of my videos are unscripted. I do sometimes write a little bit of a background down about things, but obviously it can be quite difficult. I do all this on my own, like a lot of other YouTubers do, and I do work as well, and I am a parent. So it's quite difficult, and I have to choose my moments as well to film. When I started this video, I was filming quite late at night because my kids were still up. And I'm doing this now, and they are actually up. Now and again, you can probably hear one of my children upstairs. I can hear her now actually moving around. So yeah, I have to choose my moments, and obviously it's being able to concentrate as well when you're making these things, because I do a lot of repair videos, and obviously I'm older now and I get tired of when it gets later at night, and I don't like staying up late anymore. So that's another factor as well, finding the time to do these things. For anybody out there that has all the time to do it during the day and do it full time, they're very lucky, but obviously it's very hard work. It took me 4 years to get monetized. The goals for YouTube to get monetized are quite high in my opinion, unless of course you're very lucky with how quickly you get picked up by the algorithm. I think it's 1,000 subscribers, and you need 4,000 watch hours per every rolling 12 months. So obviously the goalpost for the watch hours is always moving. I've started a toy channel just over a year ago. That started off quite well with watch hours. It went up to over 1,000 quite quickly because I had a popular video on there. But over the last 2 months, it's dropped down to 600 hours. And it's quite disheartening really, because I do put quite a lot of effort into it. Running 2 channels is quite difficult. Because I'm into retro toys as well, Lego, that kind of thing, Star Wars stuff from the 70s and 80s. And I did a poll probably about 2 years ago asking you all whether I should have a separate channel for retro toys. Because I used to have them on this channel as well. And I think it was about 50-50 the vote from what I can remember. So I decided to start up a new channel, which I'm kind of glad I did, because I think trying to cover everything on one channel can be a bit too much and a bit off-putting for some people. But I guess at the end of the day, though, you don't have to watch the video, do you? If you don't like it, just skip it, switch it off, and wait for the next topic to turn up that you are interested in. But yeah, when I got monetized just about a year ago now, 18 months ago I think it was a very nice feeling suddenly getting paid for what I do. But I must say it's not a lot at all. In fact, all I earn out of this is between sort of £15 and £20 a month at the moment, which just about pays the TV license and a bit of Netflix, if you look at it like that. And obviously if I'm doing a repair video, if I need a load of capacitors for something, a sort of 15, 20 quid, it's gone just like that, isn't it? If you repair stuff, you know what it's like, buying solder, flux, all the other things that you need, all the equipment, the money goes quite quickly. And like I mentioned before, I never had any donations, but I have recently had one small cash donation from a viewer that just wanted to say thank you for a video that I'd made. And I really appreciated that. But yeah, going forward, I'm hoping obviously things will pick up. And as time goes on, maybe I'll start earning a bit more out of it. But I don't think I'll ever earn enough to quit my day job. The other thing, of course, there is Patreon, which I've considered in the past, but I felt a bit awkward about that, to be honest, because I don't want to ask for money from anybody. Because I think that will put me under pressure to perform more. And I already feel under pressure, to be honest with you, as it is, to make videos. When I first started this out, I was making a video, or I was making 2 or 3 videos a week at some points. At some points I had another one on the back burner being edited while I was already filming another. But it was getting a bit too much. I was finding myself getting a bit burnt out, to be honest. So I kind of calmed down a bit. And I thought about the Patreon thing, but like I said, I just don't want to be asking for money from people and feel that I'm under pressure to perform, as it were, and create new content all the time. And it just didn't sit very well with me. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on that, about Patreon, whether you think I should do it or not, and looking back at what I just said, let me know in the comments. Okay, I think that's enough talk about that now, isn't it? Let's have a look at some of this old video recorders here, shall we? And some of these cameras. Have a quick look at those. Audio sync. Okay, so here we are. I'm just recording this segment on my trusty Sony HVC 4000p there camera, which is tube based from 1981. This is the video recorder that I just repaired. This one here. That's a Ferguson Video Star portable video recorder. The model numbers escape me at this moment in time. It's a 3B41 or 31. Which is actually a clone of this JVC here, which is sadly not working. I got these both similar times actually. The Ferguson there had a black and white picture when I first got it, and I thought to myself it's probably just the heads need a good clean, but it wasn't that. So I thought I'll try swapping the heads out. That didn't work, and then obviously as I investigated things further, I started noticing that a lot of the capacitors were leaking. In fact, there was a lot of leaking capacitors. And as I went through and started replacing them all, because there was no audio on that either at the time, and nothing really improved. So I started looking at both the boards on each one, and there are some slight variants on these two actually. Obviously, I'm sorry, I'm diversifying here slightly. But yeah, I checked it all out basically, and as I went into the audio side of things, the audio board, I got to a capacitor which was really bad, swapped that out, and the audio started coming back through. And it turns out that no matter, even though I'd replaced loads of leaking capacitors on the video side of things, it was actually a bad connection in the end, a dry joint, because the PCBs on these models have quite a lot of connections, pins along the edges, and they're a point basically, a weakened area point where things can go wrong and you get dry joints. So in the end, that's all it was. So it just goes to show, even with leaking capacitors, these things can still carry on working. Because it was still playing back and recording fine. So yeah, obviously I'm recording on this now, so fingers crossed it's working. But I thought I'd talk about these other items here using this camera and this recorder. So let's have a look at what else we've got here today. On the left here, I'll do a close-up in a second. We've got a very early video recorder here. This is a Sony reel-to-reel video recorder. I think it's 1/2" tape. And this came from around about 1972, I think. Unfortunately, this one's not working. I think it's got a problem actually. If I remember rightly, someone mentioned that there's some foam in the heads that push up some contacts, and it perishes basically. So that foam needs replacing. But to get these things apart, it's not an easy job. So I guess I've been putting that one off. So that'll be for another video. And it came with a matching camera as well. Just there. There you go. And that camera is actually black and white. And it's got a black and white viewfinder in the back, which works. But I think the tube's gone on that one, unfortunately. I can hear a high-pitched whining sound coming out of it. But unfortunately, there's no image coming through. So that's something else to investigate. And then over here, we've got a JVC video camera here. This is actually a slightly different version to the first one I ever had. Which one we got here? This is a GX77, this one. And this one had a optical viewfinder, but this has the optional black and white viewfinder, which goes on the side there. Look at that. There's a little black and white TV screen in there. And that was an optional extra back then. Can you believe it? I hadn't seen one of these before, actually, until I bought this a few years ago. Sadly, this one, the last time I checked this, the image was very green on it. No colour coming through on that one, which could be just an indicator of some bad caps. So yeah, we'll probably look at that in another video. And then of course you've got your little JVC VHSC machines here, which I've done videos on these before. These are terrible for going wrong. The loading mechanism, the guides where the tape laces are, they always crack. So you need to find a way around that basically before you can do anything else. But these really leak with the capacitors. They're quite bad for it actually, very horrific for leaking. I'll come around to the front now to get to other bits because I can't quite reach around there. So yeah, there's the Ferguson system there. Very nice system actually, it's one of my favourites. Like I say, that came out in 1981, and it's got the separate tune and timer unit there, so you can use it to record television programmes. Obviously it's analogue, so it won't work today as it is. But with the correct set-top box, digital box, you can still use it. And I always like the tube displays on these, fluorescent display tubes. VFD displays on those ones. Let's see if I can get a close-up of that. There you go. And it's actually green in real life. I think it looks a little bit blue though on my screen. And that's the JVC clone over there. So my white balance has just gone off a bit there. There we go. And then this little system here. This is a little Grundig video recorder. It's a VP100. And that's the tapes that they use. It's very similar looking to Video 8. As you can see there, the tapes are a different size. And I haven't seen this one working yet, so I don't have a power supply for it, unfortunately. But as I understand it, I think these are quite rare now, quite hard to get hold of. I'd love to see it working. I've also got a couple of the CVC systems over here as well. There we go, Technicolor, that was it, not CVS. And I've got the unit at the back there. That's got the built-in monitor and the video recorder built in. The TV part works fine on that, but the video recorder doesn't. I also have a portable version of that as well. But again, I don't have the power supply. And that Telefunken there, that's a clone of the VHSC system that I showed you before, the JVC one. That one actually works. It's got a nice little leatherette case, that one. And then over here, last but not least, this is a very unusual machine. It almost looks like a ghetto blaster. It's a Sharp video cassette recorder, VC2300H. And that actually has the tune, the timer built in as well. It's very heavy. It's got a big hand on the top there, look. Which is why I say it looks like a ghetto blaster. That one there is unusual actually, in that it has brass heads. And I did buy some replacement heads for that, and I've yet to fit them. I've not got around to doing that one yet. And this has actually been in the shed for quite a while, so I bet it's going to need a belt change as well. Let's just do a close-up of that reel-to-reel system there. There we go. There's something about reel-to-reel videotape recorders. I find them ever so interesting. But that one's black and white only, and it's quite small for its age really. I think it was, like I said, 1972-ish. But I've yet to see that one work. And I also have the Akai version as well, the V100, VT100 I think it is, or 110. And that has a built-in 4-inch screen as well. And that's the camera there again. It goes with that one. So this is black and white only. It's all metal construction, the housing. All I get is a high-pitched whine out of that one. And the black and white viewfinder itself does still work. But yes, certainly lots to be getting on with for future videos. And there you go, I think that just about brings us to the end of this video. One of the things I do love about making these videos is actually using this old gear. And the fact that some of it's still working just absolutely amazes me. Obviously, like I mentioned before as well, it's a bit of a going concern keeping it working. But when it does work, it's absolute fun to use. seeing just how things were back in the day when we were a lot younger, back in the 80s, 90s, and seeing what people had to work with. And obviously back then this gear was extremely expensive as well. Not many people could afford to buy it outright. So here in England, and probably around the rest of the world as well, we had the rental market, which was very big and booming back in the day. I remember all the different places like Granada Rentals and Radio Rentals, to name but a few. It was big business, because like I said, some of this equipment was sort of in the thousands of pounds to buy back then. And in today's money, it's like sort of 3 or 4 grand. When you think about what we carry around in our pockets today in a mobile phone and what they can do, it took all these different devices to do just a couple of those things, like recording special events. And that's what a lot of this stuff is used for. People just rented it just for those special occasions, like birthdays and weddings, that kind of thing. But yeah, I really enjoy making videos about it and testing it all out and using it. It's quite nostalgic. Well, I think that just about brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoy watching that with me. Hopefully it's given you a bit more insight into who I am and what goes on behind the scenes. This video could have gone on a bit longer, but I didn't want to bore people. So I'm going to obviously try and keep it as short as I can, because I can rattle on once I start talking. Well, as always, thanks for watching, and until the next video, I'll be seeing you. And if you did enjoy watching this video, you may want to take a look at some of my other videos on similar themes. I'm always buying something on eBay, some more piece of technology, and trying to repair it. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching.